We had a competition camp yesterday, and at the end, we invite the parents to watch the last practice of the 2-day camp. And the kids were, they were doing fantastic, right? The technique and drilling part is very simple, but sometimes getting them to drill with a lot of effort, right? As athletes or coaches, especially the high school camps are sort of done now with season. We have a handful, but mostly it's middle school and youth kids. It's a long weekend of camp. But they hit a grand slam, and one parent afterwards was like, "Hey, you said, come on, guys, you said level 10," and they responded, "What the heck was that?" We have different methods for getting people to put forth more effort. Now, don't get me wrong. We don't want sloppy, hard drilling. We don't pace around the room screaming and yelling and barking. In fact, I've lost athletes because their dad, usually it's the dads, they're like, they just want their kid beat up, right? Make him tough. My kid's not tough. Well, yeah, that's probably a parenting issue. And maybe your kid is tough, right? Or maybe you don't know wrestling. You know, the mind of a wrestler should be a little bit different than the mind of a power lifter, okay? Because those are raw sports. And we have videos here about that, and there's the Joe Namath story, which we used. So we don't just want them working really hard and tough and have 5 coaches running around slobbering, blowing whistles at them, yelling at them, and their technique is crappy. Sloppy, floppy, hard wrestling. And as long as their face is red and they're sweaty, sometimes as coaches, unfortunately, and also parents, we're happy, right? Well, I want them working hard, but also with precision drilling, right? So, there's sort of that fine line. So that's something I wanted to mention from the beginning. But as far as getting the athletes to wrestle hard, they want to work hard, right? What I hate is this. We're not working hard enough. Everybody down. We're doing 30 push-ups, right? Well, how about if you just have some kids demo how to drill and say, okay, guys, who wants to be a state champion? All right, let's drill like that. Break out. Let number 1 guy go for a minute. I guarantee you they're going to respond. Maybe not everyone. Those kids that don't, you pull them to the side and say, how come you're not practicing? Do you not like wrestling? Do you not want to be here? And then you talk to them individually, and that's what the college coaches do, right? They pull guys in their office and they talk to them. Hey, your commitment level seems to be lacking. Your weight's getting too high. What's going on, right? Talk to them like human beings. Don't just say, you don't have any heart, or get mad, or make the team do push-ups and run. So I think if you attack it as, number 1, kind of an intellectual level, number 2, attack it from the framework that these kids do take pride in working hard. They want to work hard. They just don't know what working hard means, okay? And if you're maybe a coach or someone who has engaged in just the maximum effort practices and their technique and precision isn't there, I would correct that. So we want to have hard, tough, intense wrestling, but also we want to get into a groove. When I was at Oklahoma State, John Smith said, get into your rhythm, your drilling groove, your drilling rhythm. And it's hard to do when, if you're working here at the computer and someone's barking at you and yelling at you and blowing whistles in your ear. Maybe you're in construction and you're trying to roof a house and someone's yelling at you. You're like, dude, if you calm down, I can get I can roof this house faster, all right? I don't want to fall off the roof, right? So that's definitely something to avoid. But if you're athletes, maybe your practice just looks like an unorganized mess. What I did with the whole level 10 thing was I said, during the course of the weekend, hey, live wrestling time, right? Stop. Everybody stand up. Raise your hand if you were competing on a scale of 1 to 10 on a level 10. Competing wise, I don't care if you're winning, right? I do care, but we're focused on our effort. And they're honest. Only like 4 raised their hand out of like 58 guys. How about level 9? A bunch of hands. 8, 7, and I go, who thinks they should have done better in that 3-minute wrestling go? And quite a few raised their hand. And it was a great practice, don't get me wrong. But, we want to squeeze a little more effort out of them without screaming and yelling, getting frustrated, throwing our clipboard, making them do push-ups, tell them they don't want it bad enough. I mean, all of these things that we get in. So instead of getting frustrated as a coach, I'm like, I know they intellectually, from that standpoint, want to be a great wrestler. And so I'm like, good. So let me bring a couple kids out. We have them wrestle live. They're really intense tigers, right, that were going at it. There you go. Who would like to compete like that? Everybody raise their hand. Who's going to do better? Everybody raise their hand. Tomorrow your parents are going to come. You want to make your parents proud? Yeah. Okay, let's do that, guys. Here we go. Boom. And then practice. We just lit the fire under the practice just through explaining what working hard is, having them gauge themselves on a scale of 1 to 10, be honest. And I always use a disclaimer. Hey, I'm the laziest guy there is. I fight my laziness every day. We all do. You guys, this is your 6th hour of the day. You're not going to practice as well as you did the first hour of camp. You're human. You're not a machine. John Smith used to say that. You're not a machine. We can't just dump more gas in you. You are human. You have to work through these things, right? And as a coach, we have to help our athletes to work through it, not just rub their face in the mat, basically, but to help them work through it, because once we sort of make sense of it all, then we can get 98% of those kids rocking and rolling and looking fantastic without screaming and yelling and doing punishment push-ups and stuff. I know my daughter, when she played volleyball, sometimes at some camp, they just spent the whole time running and doing push-ups. The coach was mad because they weren't working hard enough. Well, she's like, I didn't pay for this camp, or you didn't, to do push-ups all day. I'm like, we've never done one punishment push-up in 10 years. I refuse, because I look at that as a sign of weakness for me as a coach. I want to be the greatest classroom manager in America and be able to put workers to work and have them want to work. Not for me, not to avoid doing push-ups till they puke, but because I've ignited sort of their, I've helped them to recommunicate with their desire to be successful. And then we throw some great athletes out there, or maybe not great athletes, but people putting forth effort, and we say, that's what we want you to look like, okay? But it is a good strategy, just asking them, how are you competing? Okay, well, why is that? Well, okay. Maybe my world-class program kids on Wednesday, a lot of them are going to the Virginia duels, right? The VAC duels. They were cutting weight. And I told them, just get through practice. I don't expect you to be drilling and wrestling like these other guys do, because you're cutting weight. I've been there, all right? But I do want you to get through the practice. So maybe they're not putting forth effort because they didn't sleep good last night. They're up late studying, right? So just treat them like human beings, like you would want to be treated by your boss, because really they're your employees and you're the boss. How would you take that sort of approach? Just because they're only 15 or they're only 12 or 9 or they're only 22 years old, you still treat them like an adult. I remember Drake had a show. He wrestled for us since he was a little kid. First 2 years in our room, 9 and 10 years old, he couldn't even get a takedown. Now he's a Division I NCAA champion. He works in Dallas, right? His dad and Maya used to be real good buddies. They moved away. He said, Drake wanted to go to practice, but he's like, I had a hard time watching that. And I was like, Drake, you sure you want to go? Do you want to maybe wait till you get a little older or better? He's like, no, I want to go back. I mean, he got beat pretty good. And I mean 2 full years, right? Well, and in college, he was ranked number 1 in the nation his junior year and got 4th, which was great. But then his senior year, he was ranked number 4th and got 1st. And I'm talking to him. He worked camps for me that summer. And he had a kind of a performance coach volunteer to help him. A famous guy, right? Then in Missouri had their sports psychology team working at lady, I think it was, working with the team. But he had a special guy. He ran the department at Mizzou. He just liked Drake because of his work ethic. And he was drawn to Drake. And so Drake's like, sometimes he'd be at practice, he'd watch for 10 minutes, then he'd leave. He'd be at my matches. Once a week we come in, we sit down, intellectually here, talking. How was your match? How was your preparation, right? And this is how I try to treat my athletes, right? And they open up because they want to be good. He's like, well, I noticed, last Wednesday, you guys were doing kettlebell carries. You were doing sprints, like 50-yard sprints. and you kept putting the kettlebells down. He's like, and then you were getting mad and you were cussing and you weren't really, why was that, Drake? And Drake goes, it was a stupid practice. He's like, it was way beyond what we needed. We were already exhausted. They were just trying to kill us. The coaches had, they were just pissing us off. I was done with those guys. I wanted to get the hell out of there. And he's like, yeah, I get it. Sometimes coaches don't, they get, I call it Barney Badass or Tommy Tough Guy, right? They turn into Tommy Tough Guy. And he was like, yeah, he's like, okay, well, do you think putting those kettlebells down, do you want to be an NCAA champion still? And Drake goes, sure I do. He goes, do you think getting stronger and lifting weights is going to help you to be an NCAA champion? And Drake goes, sure it will. He's like, well, do you think putting the dumbbells down or the kettlebells down is helping you or hurting you? He's like, it's definitely hurting me. He's like, I know the coaches were maybe overdoing it, but do you think you could have, put them down less and maybe put forth, I guess sprinted to the finish line, you could say? And Drake goes, yeah. He goes, next time you have to do conditioning like that, why don't you finish strong? Because it's going to help you to accomplish your goals. And Drake said from that point on, every time they did conditioning or weightlifting, what's up, Chico? Every time they did all that, he was like, his attitude was better because this famous psychologist said, is it going to help you or hurt you? He goes, it's going to help me. He's like, well, I would suggest you don't put the kettlebell down. And Drake says his whole outlook changed, right? So there's a little more tidbit as far as, trying to get them to work their way through it so you don't have to coach them anymore. See, when your kids are there for themselves and they learn how to produce on their own, and you're asking leading questions and making them engage with, do you still have these goals, right? And so, this parent was pretty impressed with our competition camp because we got such good effort out of them. All I did was remind them about our 2-minute level 10 talk from the day before, right? Who's competing on level 10? Probably half of them. They was pretty good because parents were there. They were trying to impress them. Maybe half of them were 8 or 9. I go, hey, who's going to do level 10 for the next 40 minutes of practice? They all raise their hand. I go, let's make ourselves proud. Boom, started all over. Place went on fire. So there's some thoughts on classroom management, motivating the kids without giving punishment push-ups, maybe a little bit about, being running your program and not letting your program run you. Don't get frustrated. Don't belittle the kids if they're not working correctly. Tips for motivating people, showing them visually what right looks like. So there's a video clip in their head. All of these things. You can find out more on our other videos of our YouTube channel. And if you're interested in training with us, we are in St. Louis, Missouri. My wife and I own our own 17,500 square foot training center on 10 acres, 30 minutes from St. Louis. We turned away hundreds last year, so just letting you know, kids from Hawaii, Alaska, even kids from Germany came in last year. So if you're interested in checking us out, purlerwrestling.com. And you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook also. Instagram is @PurlerWrestling. And that links to our Facebook page, which is Purler Wrestling Inc. And we share a lot of great advice there too. Not just stupid waste of time memes, all right? We get sick of that, so I'm not going to waste your time. It's pretty good content. Good luck.